use your voice because it is the gateway to giving all of those emotions that are stuck inside your body permission to
Mm.
be expressed, for permission for them to move, permission for all of that stagnant energy to be
Mm.
released.
Welcome to the Rewire for Birth podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Cindy. I'm a naturopathic doctor and birth guardian, and I couldn't be more thrilled to have you here. This podcast is all about rewiring the way we think about pregnancy, birth, and postpartum by offering a holistic perspective that empowers you to embrace your journey with confidence and strength. Each week, I'll bring you expert insights, valuable advice, and inspiring stories to help you feel prepared and empowered. We'll dive deep into the transformative experience of bringing new life into the world and explore ways to make your birthing journey truly beautiful.
Please remember that although Cindy is a naturopathic doctor, she is not your naturopathic doctor. This information is made available to you for educational and informational purposes only and should never be used as a substitute for medical advice. Please see rewireforbirth.com/disclaimer for details.
On this episode of the podcast, we have Mila Redwood. Mila is a community song leader, mother, and the founder of Sing for Joy in Toronto, Canada. Mila uses song as a tool for building community, for restoring our sense of belonging and connection in a fragmented world. As the founder of Sing for Joy, Mila pioneered a community singing movement in Canada that has grown exponentially over the past decade. She is also a proud steward of the global Singing Mamas movement, paving the way for community singing to be implemented as a socially prescribed therapeutic modality for maternal mental health. Now, if you've listened to previous episodes or read the newsletter that I send out to the community, you understand that our voice is such a powerful technology on our journey throughout motherhood. And Mila is the perfect person, such a beautiful soul to break it down for us. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, we are joined in person by the incredible Mila Redwood. We secretly manifested a major snowstorm so that we could do this in person. How lovely is this?
Amazing. It's a
I'm
total dream come true.
right. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that you are here in
Mhm.
person, that we were able to connect again. And the listeners
Mhm.
are going to hear a little bit about how we connected for the first time and the incredible work that you do. So thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for being here, Mila.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. It feels like a total gift to be here. Such a delight. And I'm so honored. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So, as we begin, I
Mhm.
want to hear a little bit about your work. I also want to hear the precursor, the catalyst that birthed the incredible work that you do.
Yeah, thank you. So I think I'll start when I was a little girl, which is a story about how much I loved to sing when I was little. I recently found this video of me singing along to Like a Prayer by Madonna and just belting it out with full aliveness and joy. And then somewhere around the age of 10, friends at school told me that I couldn't sing. And I just stopped singing for most of my life until my early 30s. And it was the same singing wound that so many of us carry, being told at some point in childhood that you can't sing and then just tucking that part of you away. So that was my
Totally,
story. Yeah,
totally.
it's so common. And I find that most of the people I sing with today have some variation of that singing wound that they walk into my spaces, my song circles with. And so I tucked that part of myself away. And then about 13 years ago, I was living on the West Coast and I was in Portland, Oregon for the weekend. And I walked into my first ever song circle experience that was being led by my now beloved teacher, Lawrence Cole. And there were about 100 people in this room singing these simple songs learned by ear in the oral tradition of call and response, which simply means repeat after me. So he was teaching a line and then people would sing it back. It was so simple. And yet I felt, I would say, the greatest sense of belonging and connection that I'd ever experienced in my life. And I remember thinking, like, what is this thing? Like, what is this? How can I do this? This is just blowing my mind completely. And I followed Lawrence back to his car that night like a crazy stalker woman. And I was like, Lawrence, what is this? How can I do this? And please help me to step onto this path, because it was one of those moments where spirit just kind of came down and tapped on my heart and said, Mila, this is it. This is your path. You gotta do this. And that was really it, is that story of no singing. And then that was the start.
Yeah. When was that? How many years ago was that?
That was 2013.
Okay.
So yeah, 13 years ago.
Wow. And now the work that you do is so powerful. You said like the call and response method. And I experienced that with you. We met for the first time a few months ago, and you were invited to lead a part of our retreat, lead the women in song. And you started off, and I was like, what have I got myself into? Why am I here? And then literally a minute or so in, like 2 minutes in, tears just like uncontrollably started rising in me. And I'm like, what is happening? And I was fighting them so much, even though the song was called Let It Flow, like let it go, let it flow. Wasn't that the song?
Oh, breathe easy. Let it all go.
Let it all go. So even though the song was like, let it all go, I'm like fighting these tears because I've just met all these women. We've just arrived, right? And I couldn't help it. And I was not the only one crying. It just, there's a technology in our voice when we do something collectively, and it has such profound healing power. And I'm going to be a big nerd. I have 2 little girls right now, and they're obsessed with a movie called K-pop Demon Hunters. And that movie is actually quite deep because it kind of reminds us of the power of song, like the power of frequency and vibration to transform us. And so it's such a beautiful modality, I can call it. It is just a beautiful experience to be in a singing circle with other women. And I'd love to hear, I guess, the process of how you went from being like, oh my goodness, like, where has this been my whole life, to you being someone who is leading women in circle.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I realized really quickly after that first experience that it was a technology, the word that you said, and really one of the most ancient technologies of belonging that humans have used since the earliest times. And I found that in these song circles, it was like a total remembering that people were having. Like, it's in our bodies, you know, we all come from lineages of grandmothers who've been singing in these simple ways for all of time, whether they were like washing clothes in the river or pounding grain or, you know, working in the fields. This is the way that people have sung together for thousands of years. And it wasn't until the 1800s that singing became like, it shifted away from this group kind of paradigm of singing together into a more performance-based paradigm of people who were talented sing. And yeah, it just shifted into a performance paradigm. So there's this real like reclaiming, I find, that's happening now. And the more that I was exposed to it, the more I realized this is the technology that I'm here to deliver for whatever reason, who knows. But my first step was going to a program called the Community Choir Leadership Training in Victoria in BC. And it was a 16-day boot camp for people who had never done this before to learn how to lead community choirs. And that was my start with it in 2014. And then from there, it just evolved into all kinds of things. And I fell in love with the oral tradition because the oral tradition removes all barriers to access. So that means basically that anyone from any walks, you know, any background, any walk of life can sing, whether they even know the language that I'm teaching it in or not. Yeah, so it's just a way that unites people universally, essentially.
Absolutely. And there's something special about the time that we're in right now. Like you said, reclamation, there is a remembering, there is a reclamation of the power of our voice. And when it comes to, because this is a birth podcast, so we're going to talk about birth. When it comes to labor and birth, there is something so profoundly powerful about connecting to our voice to using our voice, being uninhibited in toning, in moaning, in roaring, in growling, in screaming, like whatever needs to come up is actually a part of that portal. It's a part of that initiation that mothers enter when they're in labor and about to birth a new life into this reality. And from a scientific point of view, there is something called the larynx cervix axiom. And there are different names for that, but it's actually not easily searchable. Like if you type that into Google, like not a lot comes up. If you type in like the throat cervix connection, not a lot comes up. So there is this like, it's hidden, right? And what happens is that as we open up our throat chakra, as we open up our throat, our larynx, our vocal cords, our cervix actually mirrors that. And so our cervix begins to dilate. And it can't be a high pitched tone, because a high pitched tone constricts our vocal cords, it tightens things. And that's kind of like, if you think of a high pitched tone, it's like a fear response, like, right? But when you're in the zone, when you're connected to your body, when you're connected to your baby, it's more of that like low tone, like very, very low tone. And that is what actually opens up our cervix. And when I was in labor, I hadn't heard anything about this, but intuitively, I got the nudge to begin to tone, to begin to moan in that way. And it really, really did help me dilate at whatever speed my baby needed my body to dilate, my cervix to dilate. And so there is this connection, there is this technology with our voice. And it's just interesting. I think of the woman who enters a space when she's in labor that she's not familiar with, that she's not comfortable with, and has healthcare professionals around her who are very kind and well-meaning and want to support her, but they're also strangers, right? And so there is this level of being inhibited in that space. Like, I don't think a lot of women, depending on their background, depending on their connection to themselves, how confident they are, how willing they are to just move in different weird ways and vocalize in different weird ways. I just think that muffling that voice in the labor process really works against the body in that space. So I'm glad we're talking about this. I think it's so powerful. And I do want to mention as well that when you use your voice in labor, you're also releasing endorphins. You're also releasing more oxytocin. You are more connected to your body, more connected to your baby. Research has shown that it actually can improve labor and birth outcomes. And so this isn't just like, oh, it's fun to sing or it's fun to make noise. Like, it is actually improving your experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love to call that earth voice, that voice that we can bring into those labor moments, that like, deep moaning, which I also was not prepared for in my labor, but ended up using that so much.
Oh, how lovely.
Just to move through. Yeah. It's great to hear you talk about that connection, because it intuitively makes so much sense, and having it rooted in that science is just extra.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. Like, you hadn't heard about it, and then you just intuitively got the nudge to do that, right? And so it's a reminder to anyone listening to really listen to that inner voice, listen to those intuitive nudges that are calling you to do things that are like a little bit weird, that are a little bit unexpected, that the people around you might raise an eyebrow at. Like, who cares? Right? And so thinking about how it also helps to regulate our nervous system, how it helps to raise certain emotions, which I experienced with you, as I mentioned before, like all these tears just began to flow when I was singing in circle with these other women. And so it does something to us, and it's so powerful. So I know you've come with a little bit of research about what our voice can do, and I'd love to hear more about that from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the threads of my work that I'm so passionate about is that I work with an organization in the UK called Singing Mamas. And Singing Mamas is arguably currently the biggest community singing movement worldwide. There are hundreds of Singing Mamas groups across the UK and now worldwide as well. But it was started by my dear friend Kate Valentine, who's a registered nurse. And she spent 20 years working in hospitals and emerge in all different kinds of units. And she eventually came to this knowing that group singing, community singing, is one of the most impactful ways to support women in mostly the postpartum period, but also the pregnancy period, but mostly for women who are experiencing postpartum depression and anxiety. And Singing Mamas was founded because statistics show that the leading cause of death for women who are pregnant and 1 year postpartum is suicide. And this can change. It has to change, and it can change through group singing. And so she founded this organization and created this amazing model where essentially it's very simple. Women gather in circle and sing these songs in the oral tradition, and it creates a sense of bonding with their baby. It creates connection with each other. It gives them a sense of confidence and, confidence in their own voice in the world, navigating the world. There was an incredible study done recently by the British Journal of Psychiatry about Singing Mamas groups, and specifically focusing on one group that was a 10-week series. And the women in this group were self-selected as women who were experiencing postpartum depression or anxiety. And the results of this group were that these women, 76% of these women recovered completely from postpartum depression, compared to 50% who were going through the usual forms of treatment. And so that's a significant difference, like 76% complete recovery rate compared to 50%, mostly who were going through the route of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay.
But there's all kinds of amazing statistics to show the power of group singing. And incredibly, Singing Mamas has gotten their movement fully integrated into the National Health Service in the UK, so that it's now offered fully on prescription, which means that mamas can go into their doctor's office or midwife's office, tell their doctor that they're experiencing, any kind of maternal mental health situation, get a prescription to go sing with these groups.
Wow. So I love that prescription.
I know, right?
Singing.
We're so behind here in North America, but it's recognized as a fully legitimate therapeutic modality over there in the UK and in a lot of places in Europe. It's regarded that way.
Oh my goodness. Well, like 76% complete recovery.
Yeah.
That's bananas.
I know, right?
Yeah. How beautiful. And we are a little bit behind here, but I just think about, the generations of women, like you were saying before, that we just sang together. It was just something we did as we were doing whatever needed to be done, to be able to create livelihood for us and our family. And that they were these simple songs. And because it's releasing oxytocin when we do that, we feel more bonded, we feel more connected, we feel more in tune with each other. And because it's also regulating our nervous system, we also feel a sense of calm in the process. And with any postpartum experience in modern times, we often feel isolated, we often feel disconnected. We have so much nervous system dysregulation, and we soothe ourselves with, a lot of women will start experiencing addiction in the postpartum period, postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, all of those things. And song is such a simple way to reconnect us to ourselves, to reconnect us to our baby, to regulate our nervous system, to make us feel a sense of belonging. But doing it alone is very different than doing it collectively. And so I will bring up this one piece of research. They studied babies in the NICU that were going through treatments, and of course they're experiencing pain, but the babies who heard their mothers sing, I don't know how they measured this, but they said they had lower pain scores and faster recovery rates, just hearing the voice of their mothers singing. And so there is something powerful when we do it with each other versus alone. I think alone can still be incredibly healing and beautiful. And, even just somatically, it can allow us to release certain emotions. But when we do it together, something is activated in the human body. And it's, yeah, I experienced it with you. And so I know from personal experience how powerful it is. And I would urge the listeners to consider this a part of your like care plan as you're going throughout your pregnancy to connect to your baby. During labor, use your voice. During the birth, use your voice. And in the postpartum period, singing to your baby, right? And having your relatives around, if they're open to it, to be able to sing in some way. But you use really, really beautiful, simple songs that I don't know if it's because they've been passed down for generations. Like there's something special about these songs. Like I don't know if you could say more about that, but they're like I don't think if I just made up a song that I would have had the same reaction. You know what I mean? Like there's something special about the songs that you carry, and like you call yourself a song keeper. So there's this tradition that you're protecting, and these songs have been passed down from generation to generation for a reason. Like I think of different herbal remedies and botanical remedies and like recipes that have been passed down from generation to generation. It's stuck around for many, many, like hundreds of years, thousands of years for a reason. Like they do something for us, right? And so I don't know if you could speak more to that, but there is something about the songs that you're protecting as a traditional songkeeper.
Yeah, thanks for that question. I care a lot about the lineage of the songs and honoring where they come from and their origins and their roots. And you'll notice when you're singing with me that I speak a lot about the ancestor of the song, who made it, if I know it, yeah, where it comes from, just really doing my best to honor the origin and the roots. Because in the oral tradition, whether it's singing or storytelling or whatever it is, it's really easy for broken telephone to happen, where someone will teach a song and they'll say a name of someone who didn't write it, and then it'll get passed on to a whole other community with the wrong origin, or, it happens, and it just happens, and we have to be so self-compassionate and forgive ourselves and just do the best we can. But it matters to me about, where these songs come from. And I was recently reading some of the work of this amazing woman named Angeles Arian. She was a Basque cultural anthropologist who dedicated her life's work to learning about traditional cultures worldwide and what unites them, basically. And she found that in her lifelong research and legacy, she found that there are 4 universal healing salves that unite every traditional culture worldwide. And can you guess what they are? Singing, dancing, storytelling, and silence. The 4 universal healing salves. And she talks about how in most traditional cultures, there was a medicine person in the culture, in the village, in the community, whether it was a medicine woman or medicine man. And people would come to them with all kinds of physical ailments, or despairing or depressed or despondent. And they would say some variation of, when did you stop singing? When did you stop dancing? When did you stop being enchanted by stories? When did you stop finding comfort in the sweet territory of silence? And I love that so much, because it brings us back to how in ancient times, probably not even that far back, the doctors were the song carriers and the storytellers and the dancers and, the herbalists and like the midwives and all of the different people. But we've lost that connection of how song is medicine and song is actually a healing salve. And I'm so heartened to see places like the UK bringing that back in a more clinical way, but that it's being recognized again for its power and its function.
Wow. When you said like the 4 healing cells, I just felt chills. Like I feel like when I'm speaking to someone and there's like a remembrance or a truth that my body just feels, it's like you just get this sense of, oh, of course, right? It makes so much sense. I'd love for you to speak about your personal experience, if you're open to it,
Yeah.
and how song played a role in that. when you became, I'll be more specific, when you became a mother?
Hey mama, are you ready to transform your birthing experience? We're offering a free guided meditation to help you start rewiring your brain for an empowered birth. Imagine feeling calm and in control, embracing your inner strength, and making your birthing journey smoother and more joyful. Doesn't that sound amazing? It does, right? And it's possible for you. To get started, visit rewireforbirth.com/meditate and grab your free meditation now. Let's make your journey beautiful together.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. Well, what comes to mind with that question is how the absence of song during the postpartum period for me during the pandemic shaped me and the impact that it had. And I think I'm actually going to start there because by the time I have a 6-year-old daughter, so I gave birth 6 years ago. And by the time my daughter was born, I had already been on this path for, 5 years, leading community singing in Toronto mostly. And then when she was born, the pandemic started right after. And one of the first things to get shut down was singing groups because they were deemed to be unsafe. So all my choirs were shut down and people couldn't sing together for, I would say, over 2 years. And Toronto had, from what I understand, had the longest lockdown in the world. It was a year and a half, off and on, but for the most part for a year and a half. And so during that time, I had a major mental health crash and the onset of an autoimmune condition, both at the same time. And I knew in my bones that the medicine that I needed was gathering in community to sing. I knew that because I just spent the last 5 years in these song circle spaces with mothers, with their babies, seeing the impact it had on them, seeing how connected they felt and how much well-being it brought to them. So that time was really hard, definitely the darkest time of my life, without a doubt. But it also lit a blazing fire in me to make sure that no mama ever experiences that again, because I do not want that to happen, what happened to me during that time. And that's when I found Singing Mamas during that time. They were doing online song circles for folks in the pandemic. And I just soaked it all up, every single ounce of it. And then eventually, when my daughter was 2.5, the pandemic was settled enough so that I could fly over to Europe and do a training with them, which was essentially how to hold a trauma-informed space specifically for the purpose of maternal mental health.
Yeah, this is, it's making my brain go to anyone who has experienced any kind of birth trauma, how this could be a modality that they can integrate, how they can hopefully just know that it's an option. Like if they hear this podcast or any other way, that they can just know that this is an option, because it's working in a way that we don't fully understand, that I don't think we're going to fully understand, because I doubt lots of research is going to go into this. I think, the research that you mentioned is just like, we have this issue and then mothers sing together and this issue resolves itself in a way, right? Like not 100%, but 75%. And so I think that's how the research will be approached versus like what is actually happening on a cellular level, or like what is actually going on in our nervous system when we sing together. But I think just for anyone listening, just know that this is an option. And so you can reach out to local singing circles. Like I'll ask you, how would someone who is experiencing postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, feeling really isolated, maybe disconnected from their baby, maybe they didn't get that beautiful golden hour experience and so they don't feel super bonded to their baby, what resources are available to them?
Well, as a starting point, I would suggest going on the Singing Mamas website because they have a database of all the groups around the world. So singingmamas.org. There are 2 groups in Toronto. I'm sure you have listeners from all over the world, but there's groups all over North America.
Okay.
There's more in Europe for sure. I'm also thinking about ways that women who don't have a group in their community could connect with the medicine of song. And one way, I'm thinking about online song resources right now. Yeah, I'm actually not sure.
Okay. Yeah. If any come to mind, then we'll put that in the show notes.
Okay.
But singingmamas.org is a good place to start. Yeah. It's like, I would never, like, even as a naturopathic doctor, right? Like, we would never just think of prescribing song and how powerful it is. I kind of flabbergasted at the research that you're referencing, and moving forward, it's definitely going to be on my prescription pad.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
And for women who don't have a group in their community, I would also really recommend the training, the Singing Mamas training, which people can do online from anywhere in the world. And you don't need to have any song leading experience whatsoever. Anyone can do this.
That's good to know, because we have like so many confidence issues when it comes to our voice. Like, we're conditioned to think like you've got to be Beyonce to be able to share your voice. But I think it's helpful for listeners to know that it's not about like how you can perform. It's more about receiving the medicine of song.
Absolutely. Yeah, this way of singing together is all about connection, not perfection. So you don't need to know one single thing about music theory to be able to do the training.
And I don't know if you know much about drumming, but I feel like there's something about drumming as well. So there's like, again, a technology that's in place. Like, all ancient cultures have drummed together. Women have been the drummers of tribes and villages. And so there is something about like setting the rhythm, setting the coherence for the people in our space. And same thing with singing. It's like setting, it's almost like a reset to whatever is happening. So let's say we've lost someone important in our lives. And so song is a way of giving people in our space permission to grieve. Drumming also, there's something about just giving people permission through music, through song, through drumming, through dance, as you said as well, through storytelling. It's permitting us and guiding us in a way to move through these really challenging stages, through these really challenging emotions. And it's not prescriptive. It's not like, oh, you're grieving, so do this, this, and that. It's somatic. Like, we feel it in our body, we feel it in our bones, we feel it in our cells. And I think that's like the technology that we're talking about. It's not like a 5-step plan that you've got to follow. Something just happens.
Right? Yeah. It's so great that you mentioned that, because I've been in a deep dive lately of, well, specifically, like, how do I want to say this? I was not planning to talk about this. I've been really interested lately in the traditions and rituals around the Keening women of Ireland. So
Say more.
Yeah. So my mother's lineage is from Macedonia, and I have a very clear ancestral connection to those lands, have family there still. We come from a village. My dad's lineage is from the Celtic Isles, and it's very mysterious. I'm not really sure where it's from, but I've been really drawn to these keening traditions from Ireland that are about the Irish wake and how we usher people on after they die through the voice, and how we can create situations of collective catharsis through our voice, through wailing. So essentially what I've been finding, and I'm just going to geek out on this for a second.
Please do.
Yeah, okay. So in ancient Irish tradition, there were keening women who were often the midwives of the village too. So they would be like the stewards of the threshold of birth and death. And they would be called in at Irish wakes, which traditionally lasted for 3 days. And there was this really interesting polarity between the Irish keening women, who would be a very important part of how things unfolded, and then the Borichan men, who held a different function, which I'll speak to in a second. But the keening women would come in, and traditionally there would be 3 rounds of keening, which keening just means sounding, singing from a soulful place. There were no actual words. It was just vocables. It was just syllabic singing. There were tunes apparently that were consistent, like across time, but these women would come in and they would be sort of like the seed to start the grieving. And they would wail and they would cry and they would sing these songs. Basically, the wailing and the singing was sort of all interwoven, and it would allow everyone else in the community to move their grief, to move all that energy through them so that it wouldn't get stuck in the community. So it was essentially a tool, a technology for moving collective grief and creating a sense of collective catharsis. And that's, that's more of that's a very specific ritual that happened. But I see that every day with the singing and the way that it allows us to move energy, move it. Don't let it get stuck. Just move it through the singing. Another thread of my work is holding communal grief rituals, where we use the power of song to create a circle of collective care where people can just move grief through them. So a lot of song is brought into those spaces, and yeah, I think I'll leave it there for now.
As you're talking, I'm just picturing, everything that's happening in the world right now, the immense amount of grief and confusion and anger and resistance that we're experiencing in the world, and how simultaneously we're remembering our voice, we're reclaiming our voice, especially as women, depending on our heritage as well, depending on what has happened in our lineage, how we are reclaiming the voices that have been muffled, that have been stifled, that have been banned and prohibited. And, there were big consequences actually to using our voice. And I remember you talking about this at the retreat that we were at a few months ago about your personal lineage and how if someone were doing what you were doing in your country, that they would actually be executed or jailed, correct?
I would say that they could be assassinated. Yeah, they could be killed or assassinated. My mother's village has been stuck on the wrong side of the border for 700 years, just continuously occupied by different forces. And one of the reasons why I do the work that I do is to sing on behalf of my ancestors who were not able to sing and who were silenced. And it's still happening to this day. So when I go back to collect folk songs from my ancestral lands, it's always very difficult because there's so much fear around singing these songs openly and freely. And I've come to call them forbidden songs because they really are forbidden, and they have been for so long. So yeah, my own family, my mother immigrated when she was a child, and my grandparents used to sing these songs in hiding behind closed doors with bed sheets over the windows so that nobody could hear them. And if they were caught singing these songs, they would be imprisoned, beaten. Yeah, just awful. So now we have this chance to sing them freely. And I don't take that lightly, because there are places in the world where it's still not possible for women to sing these songs.
Yeah. Wow. Anytime something is so controlled, that's an indicator to me of how powerful it is, right? And we live in Canada. We live on land that has been colonized. And I just think of the native population that wasn't allowed to speak their own language. They weren't allowed to sing their traditional songs. And so anytime something is highly controlled, to me, it just shows like how powerful it is to strengthen that population, right? And yeah, I think using our voice, especially as women, especially as mothers right now on the planet, is one of the most important things that we can do, because as we continue to connect, as we continue to do this collectively, we are healing a collective wound of the shame that comes along with using our voice, the fear of what could happen if we say the wrong thing, if we sing in a certain way, if we dance in a certain way, right? So there's so much that we've been conditioned to fear. And I think using our voice is one piece of the puzzle that is liberating women, that is liberating the human population right now, as we continue to feel that sense of being suppressed, being repressed in so many ways. I don't know about you, but I really feel like we're living in a time of transition, right? And, I use that word purposefully on this podcast because it's a birth podcast, and transition is that moment when a baby is entering this reality. It is that moment when a mother usually says, I can't do this. I'm done. I'm tapped out. And so it is that moment where so much is collapsing within us. Our previous identity is burning away as we cross that threshold into birthing this new life into motherhood. And it's just so interesting to me that the most difficult moments are also simultaneously the ones that birth the most beautiful things on this planet. And I think song, somehow, using our voice, somehow is going to play a big role. And of course, this is a podcast, right? Like me, myself, I'm reclaiming my voice in so many ways. I was one of those children that was told to be quiet. I was scared of using my voice. My older sister often spoke for me. And so just using my voice, just having these conversations for me is liberating that inner child in me. And I'm using my voice to speak about what is important to me. And much like yourself, you know, I come from a lineage where we have been occupied, where we have been colonized, where human rights have been dismissed. And so, as well, you know, as a Palestinian mother, I am communicating with other Palestinian mothers and Jewish mothers, and we are connecting on a level where we understand that just using our voice together is a part of what is going to heal this, whatever is happening right now. And it's powerful.
Wow. Yeah. Song has the power to create common ground in ways that I haven't seen anything else create common ground. And when we met at homecoming, we were in this group of women from all walks of life, you know, culturally groups that have been opposed to each other for generations. And if we were in the online space, we might be canceling each other or dissing each other or whatever it is. But when you get a group of mothers, a group of women, really a group of humans in one room singing together, you realize that you are the same. And it's such a unifier in that way.
Yeah. I think there's a reason that we started off the retreat with singing. I think that was very intentional, right? Just to kind of like break down the barriers that may have been there consciously or subconsciously. So what a beautiful way to kind of unify a bunch of strangers right away. Mila, if you're comfortable, would you like to lead us through something?
I would love to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
let's do it.
So let's sing a song called Loosen, Loosen by Ali Halpert. And I like to think of these oral tradition songs as friends that we can keep tucked away in our back pocket to pull out whenever we need them. So this is one of those songs that I have kept in my back pocket and used so much in my life when I'm feeling disconnected or just struggling with anything. So I sing this song for myself, and I'm going to invite y'all into singing this song for yourself if you want to, but you can also sing it for a loved one or a child. And it goes like this. You can repeat after me. So I'm going to sing the call, which means the call, which is you can repeat after me. And then Cindy's going to sing the response, and you can join her.
Let me just have a sip of tea.
Yeah.
me.
Connection, not perfection. It's not about the way it sounds. It's just about the way it feels, you know? And it's so funny because this kind of singing really is about well-being. It's about the way it feels, but it just happens to sound so damn good almost every time because, you know, when we just bring our authentic selves, how can it not? So repeat after me. Loosen, loosen, baby.
Loosen, loosen, baby.
You don't have to carry.
You don't have to carry
the weight of the world in your muscles and bones.
The weight of the world in your muscles and bones.
Let go, let go, let go.
Let go, let go, let go.
Loosen, loosen, baby.
Loosen, loosen, baby.
You don't have to carry.
You don't have to carry
the weight of the world in your muscles and bones.
The weight of the world in your muscles and bones.
Let go, let go, let go.
Let go, let go, let go.
So I'm going to sing it in its fullness.
Okay.
And you're welcome to just hop on in when you feel ready. And we'll just kind of fumble our way through until we know it. So we can take our time with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So dive on in when you're ready. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Let's sing it one more time. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
Yay!
We did it!
Okay. Like we've been talking about the effects of song this whole time, right? Theorizing about it. And feeling it is such a different thing. Like just going through that like 1 or 2 minutes of song with you, the way that we're gazing into each other's eyes has shifted. My body has shifted. I feel more relaxed. I feel more connected. Like in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
This is so
quick.
powerful. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for this, Mila. This is such a gift to anyone listening. And you did mention that this song is one that a lot of women use during labor, correct?
Yeah, I teach this one a lot in my Singing Mamas group. And I often get stories down the road months later that women sang this one a lot during labor and also in their postpartum time, because we all know that's a tough time. It can be a tough time too. So
Yeah.
it's a great song to keep tucked in your pocket for moments when you need it. And there is a second part to this song that layers on top of that part, which I don't think I'll teach it right now, but this part is enough in and of itself, just as an ally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you describe it as an ally or like a friend in your back pocket that you can pull out anytime that you need to. It doesn't have to be only when you're having a hard time. It can be when you're, you know, just celebrating being alive, celebrating that you're with your little one, that you're with your family, and just kind of reconnecting, recalibrating your nervous system, bonding a little bit stronger with your baby. Like, what a beautiful gift that this is. Thank you so much for the work that you do, Mila. As my last question, I always like to preface it by saying there is such a profound imprint that takes place when a new life is entering this reality. And that can be one of love and safety and trust. And it's like this big welcome party for this new life. And those are all signatures of oxytocin. Unfortunately, what happens sometimes for whatever reason is that it's an imprint of uncertainty, of mistrust, of protection mode, of survival mode, of fear. And that's okay. It's not permanent. There's a lot that we can do to repair. But one of the big missions for this podcast is why repair when we can prepare for this experience. And I think that when enough women, enough mothers, when enough families are supported as they're going through this experience, then we're going to be raising a whole generation that is going to be moving through the world from a place of love and safety and trust instead of fear and survival mode. And we would be looking at such a different world if that were the case. But the hopeful message is that in a single generation, things can change. And so, with that being said, that's just my way of asking you, what would you like to imprint onto the ears of the listeners? It's a lot of new moms, it's a lot of families preparing for birth. It's also a lot of women like yourself who have want to or have birthed a beautiful mission-led business into the world. I've just asked Mila this question that I ask my guests, and she's going to lead us through a song that is the one that brought me to tears. And I'm excited for you guys to hear it.
This is a song called Oak Time by Jody Viner. And we're going to sing the first part together. And it goes like this. I'm going to sing it in its fullness, and you can hop on in with me whenever you're ready. Remember, 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 remember. And I'm going to ask Cindy to anchor that part. So if you just keep singing that part, I'll bring in the second part on top of it.
Okay.
And we'll just see what it's like to blend our voices in harmony without even trying.
Love it. Let's just blend our voices in harmony. No big deal.
No biggie. Remember, 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 we are moving in oak time, like a tree, deeper roots. We are moving in oak time, like a tree, deeper roots. Remember, 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 remember.
Oh my goodness, Mila. Thank you for this. The endorphins are buzzing through my body.
Yeah.
My nervous system is regulated. Mila, if there are moms and moms to be out there who are just thinking, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what I've been missing. How can they learn more? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, they can find me online at www.milaredwood.ca or on Instagram, mila.redwood. I think that's my handle. Yeah, and I offer all kinds of things, groups, retreats, workshops, trainings. Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm going to put that in the show notes so everyone can access that easily. And so much gratitude to you, so much gratitude to your work, so much gratitude for you having the bravery to do what your ancestors simply could not. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy, for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Rewire for Birth. We hope you found our discussion inspiring and empowering. If you enjoyed the episode, we would greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews help us reach more listeners and spread the message of holistic, empowered birth experiences. Feel free to mention what you loved about today's episode and how it helped you feel more prepared and confident about your birthing journey. Your feedback not only encourages us, but it helps other moms-to-be find our podcast and join this incredible community. Together, we can make a positive change in the world of birth. Until next time, stay empowered and keep rewiring for birth.